Hey everyone, I'm Tiffany Blackmon, and this is my so-called fabulous. Welcome to the show today, everyone. I have talked to you, I have shared, very transparent, and it seems just to be getting worse. Autoimmune. Do you call it autoimmune disease, disorders, issues? Well, I'm not sure exactly what you call it, but I know I have it, and I have three. And I have brought on the expert today, a friend of mine, Jim Hrncir with Las Colinas Pharmacy. You may have remembered season 4, episode number 128 and 129. Go and listen to female and male hormones. We talk all about it in that season, and he's just absolutely amazing. What he's doing, the work he's doing. We were kind of tossing around, what do we talk about? And I was telling him the issues I'm having. So we're going to talk to him about this now. Welcome to the show, everyone. Jim Hrncir.
Oh, thanks for having me. And thanks for the work you do, Tiff, because unbelievable how much information you're dispersing out there and helping people to see a broader scope of some of these issues that maybe they might not hear otherwise. So thank you.
You are so welcome. And I tell you, it's been great. Almost 4 years we're doing the podcast, and I have learned more about issues and things that people won't talk about, or things people have trouble talking about. So I've really kind of made it my mission to talk about these things because, you know, Jim, in your line of work, and I'm hearing this now, I'll hear from one or two people and say, I didn't know. I didn't realize. I thought I was the only one. I thought that something was wrong with me. So just telling people it's okay to talk about it, right?
It is. Matter of fact, autoimmune disease is so common. The number one most common autoimmune disease is Hashimoto's autoimmune thyroiditis. And most people don't even realize they have it. I test people over and over and over and find that they have it. And it's not that their doctors aren't great. Most of my friends are doctors. I want to go from the very outset and saying that most of my friends are traditional Western doctors. They don't understand this integrative functional medicine approach that I use. They just know that my patients do well. Mm-hmm. And so they sometimes refer them to me in spite of the fact that it's way out of their belief system. And so it doesn't mean that your traditional thinking doctor is not smart or is not a good guy or woman.
Right.
But they are. You know, but they work within their box, and my belief system is broader because I've had some experiences that changed my mind.
Oh, yeah. And have you always been functional medicine? You're a pharmacist. You own Las Colinas Pharmacy. Mm-hmm. Have you always been functional?
No, but I do think that I was forced into a broader thinking model simply because my wife had so many things go wrong in her life. It made me look outside of what my doctor friend said. Jim, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing we can do. You know, that's just the way it is, you know, and, you know, bless her heart, she's just getting older, or, you know, or something like that. And it's not that they were bad guys, you know, they care and they're good guys, but, and girls.
Yeah.
But, I'm not massaging up, probably.
I know.
So my point here is that we had to think more broadly. And so I sought out information from nationally known experts to try to figure out what can we do more than what they're saying we can do.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know, Jim, if it's because I have been hit over the head since 2020 with these autoimmune disorders.
So
I mean, it has been miserable. I've never felt worse in my entire life, but you just keep going. I have a good team of medical professionals, functional and Western. Is this something new? I mean, because, or is just, I'm just hearing it because all of my friends have it. It's not all of them, but a lot of my population has it.
And that's true. And it is very common. It's way more common than you might even realize. I mean, like I had no clue until you told me, you know, because you look so great, you know, and nobody would think, oh, this girl has autoimmune diseases, mm-hmm. You know, a couple of them, mm-hmm. And would never think that. And so the reality is that we're all dealing with stuff in our bodies. And so you're just typical for me. And these patients come to me and they say, Jim, you know, my doctor says there's nothing I do. What can we do?
I can't stand that. I know. Or better yet, but let's throw an antibiotic on it, or let's throw a steroid on this. I've gone through that phase. Let's do a biologic. That got me. The biologic really did me in. So I decided to just, you know, turn it over to functional. So is this more prevalent in society now or no?
I think that we're just identifying more.
Okay.
Don't you think?
I do.
I mean, I do think that our society is becoming more toxic and as we go, and
Mm-hmm.
that's not helping us any. All kinds of things are cropping up in our systems, and it may be that we're just realizing that these were toxins. For instance, in my house, and you look at my house, and it looks like a great house, and quaint and everything. And Jan is an incredible housekeeper, but we had toxic mold, black mold, and we had mycotoxins, which are the toxins that black mold emit. And all of a sudden, I watched Jan go from this dynamo to laying in bed 2 out of 3 days, and I thought, what's wrong with her? And it was starting to get me because my immune system is stronger than hers. And so it started to get me. I started noticing I'm having a little asthma. Well, I had asthma as a kid, but not as an adult. All of a sudden it's kind of cropping up on me. I go, hey, what's going on here? And so I went to a friend of mine who is integrated medicine doctor. I said, I've tested her for every autoimmune disease I can think of. And he says, well, let's just do a urine test for mycotoxins, and I'll be darned, she had almost 5 of the 6 mycotoxins in her system at a very high level. And we found out it was in our air conditioning system. And so we had to do $140,000 worth of a remediation in our home. But guess what? She was getting immediately better.
Kidding.
Immediately.
Oh.
But that's autoimmune. That is your immune system breaking down because of an assault by an outside toxin.
I told you yesterday, I received my results because I did the same test, the urine test. I am toxic mold poisoning. I have 5 out of the 6. I have heavy metals. I mean, I have it all. I mean, is that good or bad? I made 100 on the test, basically.
I love getting this information because you can do something about it. Whereas if you get some information, you can't do anything about it, which is a lot of my traditional guys just go, well, there's nothing we can do. Then suddenly if it happens in their life, they start thinking more broadly and use their big old brains because they're smart people, and these physicians start looking outside of their normal belief system. And next thing you know, we've got an integrated metaphysician in our ranks. Isn't that super?
Okay. You said there's something we can do about it. I'm so desperate. Will you tell me what we can do about this?
One of the first things is we've got to work on the gut, and I'm going to say before that, we've got to remove the offending agent. Okay. Like I had to get Jan out of mycotoxin land. Okay. And so one of my doctor friends let us move in with them for 3 months while the house was remediated. I mean, they had to tear down walls and ceilings and take out every duct in the house. And it was a pretty, unbelievable procedure. But, she started getting better almost immediately. Within a week, she was going, Jim, I'm feeling better.
Wow.
And she wasn't well, but she was way better. And, and I've had other patients. I had one lady who had a 12,000 square foot house. And, she had 7 or 8 air conditioners, and she had mycotoxins. She moved out of the house, and all the autoimmune markers that she had disappeared. I mean, and she said, I cannot believe I'm removing out of this incredible house, 12,000 square feet. And you know what? She's fine.
Oh my!
She's well. And she did some other things. She did the things I suggested, but I was just so proud of her for having the courage to do that, as opposed to just continuing to be sick.
To be sick, and I'm with you. So the 3 that I have been tested positive, I started out in 2020 with psoriasis on my scalp. I mean, it's like wildfire. And then
that's just a little signaling for your body saying, hey, we got something going on. Pay attention to us. It's signaling to you. Okay?
It's like a hey, and it hit me over the head. And so that was during COVID. And then lo and behold, here we go. And I have the GI issues for years. Collagenous colitis, is that it?
Exactly.
Okay. I have colitis, basically, very inflamed gut issues that have I can't hold anything in. And so there's that. And then here we go. Number 3 comes right around the corner. Psoriatic arthritis. Psoriatic. I can't say it, but I have it. Arthritis. So joint pain.
I mean, your joints are just killing you. Oh,
Miserable.
Yeah.
Awful. So I saw my doctor, and he, very Western, but you know what? He's taking care of me. Low dose naltrexone. I was afraid. And I've talked to about 5 functional doctors, and they all support it, and you do too.
Yeah, low-dose naltrexone is something I've taken for years. Matter of fact, I lecture on it on conferences all over the country. Okay. And low-dose naltrexone sounds a little scary because it's an opioid antagonist. So if you get an overdose of heroin, you quit breathing, you get some naltrexone in you, and bam, you start breathing again because it displaces the opioids off the receptor sites. Now that's really technical, isn't it? But
That's it.
basically,
But
it
yeah.
blocks opioid receptor sites. But when you use low dose, now that's 100 to 200 milligrams.
Yeah.
What if we use 1 to 4 milligrams? Tiny little dose, tiny dose. It's a butterfly kiss dose. But there was a famous doctor in New York City. He was working at public clinics. And this Dr. Bahari in 1985 said, he's a smart guy, and he's dedicated to these patients that were rough patients. I mean, we're talking AIDS patients, and we're talking opioid addicts, and we're talking cancer, and I mean, the worst, rough stuff. And he said, what if we tried really low dose naltrexone instead of high dose? High dose had failed him. So he started trying low dose. And he, all of a sudden, cancer patients started going in remission, and we started seeing inflammatory patients, getting better. AIDS patients' immune systems were kicking back into gear. And so it was so crazy. And so Dr. Bahari started trying it on all kinds of patients. And anyway, he started this trend, And so what we do is we use low dose naltrexone. Again, 1 to 4 milligrams is our dosage. And what it causes is several effects, Tiffany. And one of them is it causes endorphin release. Everybody's had runner's high, right? We love runner's high. And that's endorphins being released. But endorphins actually cause your immune system to modulate. And we didn't know that. We thought it was just to feel good. Well, you feel good because the endorphins hit nerve endings. They call them synapses, and it causes a release of dopamine. Dopamine makes you feel so happy, so rewarded. We love dopamine. And so that's nice that you get to feel that way. And also you don't feel pain as much because endorphins are the body's own morphine-like substances. But this modulation of the immune system is huge. And then it also causes an effect on 2 other things. And one is called opioid growth factor. And opioid growth factor, again, when it goes up, it causes a stimulation of anti-inflammatory cytokines, which are chemicals in your body that mediate reactions. Like they can be either anti-inflammatory or they can be inflammatory. And so it mediates the release of anti-inflammatory cytokines and suppresses inflammatory cytokines. It also suppresses the growth of cancer, Yeah. And I'll tell you about a dentist friend of mine who's in remission right now and his doctor said, "What are you doing?"
Really?
So I'm using this drug that my pharmacist told me about called low-dose naltrexone. She goes, "Whatever it is, keep on doing it." She said, "I don't know anything about that, but keep on doing it."
And I asked you this morning. I said I was scared. My doctor put me on, and I held on to it for about 3 months, just because the stigma of the opioid. I mean, everything. I just was closed-minded. Plus, I didn't want to get on any other medication.
Well, you just mentioned colitis, and what is colitis?
It's bad.
Bowel,
It's bad.
But there are signaling cells in the body, all over the body. They're called toll-like receptors. And these toll-like receptors signal for T cells and B cells, which are attack cells. They're supposed to attack, and they attack and tear up tissues, release inflammatory cytokines. Next thing you know, you just got hamburger meat, And so these toll-like receptors, when they get out of hand, they start signaling. They can signal in the brain to cause brain inflammation, which we'll talk about another time. Or they can signal in the gut. They can signal all over in the nervous system and cause neuralgias and neuropathies and autoimmune disease. So the whole point here is that we've got low-dose naltrexone working several different areas of the body to calm down inflammation, calm down autoimmune cascades, calm down this pain, and so people get better.
I mean, Jim, I honestly, the arthritis, when I would get out of bed, it was seriously, and 58 years old, I'm perfectly healthy, except what's happened to me now, but walking on glass, I felt like I was walking on glass. Started the naltrexone in April, finally feeling some, because I was just discouraged. I'm in a bad attitude, I have to say. I had a horrible attitude, but I have really, really felt some from the arthritis. Not the psoriasis or the other yet, but yeah. No. Okay, so you talk about Hashimoto's is the number one That's
It's the most common
most
autoimmune
common.
disease in the country.
And what is that? Because a lot of my friends have it.
Yeah, the immune system starts seeing the thyroid gland as an invader and starts attacking it. And again, toll-like receptors are signaling, and here comes T cells, B cells attacking the thyroid gland, and it causes release of inflammatory substances. For instance, the cytokines cause an increase of cytosolic free calcium, which is just an inflammatory type of calcium. There's good calcium and there's inflammatory calcium. And it also causes peroxidase release, peroxide, which is not healthy. And it starts tearing up the thyroglobulin inside the thyroid gland, and that thyroid gland starts losing its functionality. And over time, the thyroid gland is completely ablated if you don't do something. Now, we discovered Jan's Hashimoto's in her 30s, and her thyroid is still working, and she's 68 now. And it's because we've been doing the right things. Okay.
Doing the right things.
And so her dose of thyroid has not changed in all these years. And that is a real win.
Oh, yeah. And she's feeling better, right?
And I've had some people who the antibodies, because you get tested, and most doctors are not going to test for this. If they're forward thinking, they will, but it's just off their radar, but they'll test for these antibodies, and it's thyroid peroxidase and thyroid globulin antibodies. And you just get those two tests one time. And if they're negative, don't worry about it. But if they're positive, that tells you got to start acting, or you got to just let your thyroid gland just be completely ablated by your body's autoimmune. And the bad thing is Hashimoto's is the gateway to other autoimmune diseases. It's kind of like smoking pot. Next thing you know, you're doing heroin,
One thing leads the other. Okay. Well, okay. So I shared with you, and I've shared with my audience as well. I now have been diagnosed with breast implant illness, and I have a fabulous physician that I found. I can't believe I found this person, because when I talked to him, he was listening to me. Instead of, no, I wouldn't have my wife do that. Because I was just exploring it, because I have heard more and more women lately. And I'm going to say this to you all. I am not against breast implants. Everyone is different. But for me, they're coming out November 9th. They're coming out. I feel like I might feel better. Don't you? With these, I have a friend that she was in lupus, and now she's in remission when she took her breasts out.
One of my, I told you that I do a lot of work with veterans with traumatic brain injury and PTSD. And one of my veterans was a Green Beret and is a female. And she is, if you saw her, she's a poster girl. She is gorgeous, but she is an alpha female. She could kick my rear end every single day.
I bet, right?
But, she, after all the combat experiences she had, because, this is, you didn't know that Green Berets, girls can be Green Berets, but there was a program. And these are amazing females, but it started breaking her down. And turns out I got her hormones straightened out, her thyroid straightened out. I got a lot of her brain straightened out, and she was just doing better and better and better. But we couldn't get that last component. Something was going on, and we figured out it was breast implant illness. She had her implants taken out, and now she is going to be amazing. Amazing. Oh my God. She's already an amazing human being. I get chill bumps just thinking about her. Because she's such a good friend, and she is well known internationally. I was talking to a congressman who was a former SEAL, and he said, "Oh yeah, I know her. Yeah,
wow.
She's my friend." Yep.
And she had breast implants, and now they're removed.
And this was a tough girl. We're talking bad rear-ended.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say the customer.
Oh yeah. But it's true, right? I understand.
And so you are not alone. And I've had so many patients have had this. Yeah.
It's amazing. And again, not everyone's going to agree with what I'm doing, but
remove the toxin. Remove the toxin.
Thank you.
And let's allow your body to heal. Because if you remove obstacles to health, your body will heal. You got to find the obstacles, though. What's that root cause?
Right. What is the root cause? So when you have someone that comes to you with autoimmune, and maybe I'm repeating myself here, you give them hope. And we don't always have hope, because there's good days and bad days. There's weight gain. There's so much. So you just counsel through them, right?
And some people, I tell them the treatment plan, and they get overwhelmed. And they just say, Jim, I'm sorry, I just can't do this, And then other people just go, I'm all in.
Yes.
You give me everything I can do. And that, you know what? And I don't ever judge someone because it's just too much for them to handle. And I just say, you know what? Then at least just do low-dose naltrexone until you're ready to take another step.
What is the
You know?
treatment plan? Tell me what you would advise.
But we touched on it earlier, and let's get into it now.
Okay.
Gut health.
That's it.
Because the intestinal tract is everything. And one of Jan's best friends, you know, I'll use Jan all the time. She doesn't mind me doing that, by the way.
Jan, we just tear you apart every time.
You know, and it's just because she allows me to use her case. And,
of course.
but one of her friends, you know, is a beautiful gal and, oh, so precious, you know, but she always had a bad gut. And I told Janice, I'm really worried that one day she's going to get something autoimmune. And sure enough, she came down with psoriatic arthritis and ankylosing spondylitis. And she had to go on disability. She was a flight attendant, you know, speaks 3 languages. I mean, she's amazing.
Sure.
And plus she's just a precious human being, you know? And so anyway, one of my favorite human beings on earth. And so, but she doesn't like medicine, you know? And so anyway, she was on one of the biologics and it was just tearing her up. I mean, it was giving her a little bit of relief, but it was tearing her up. I mean, she was getting a lot of side effects from the biologic. You know, they are not without side effects, by the way. And many of the side effects are permanent. Once you get them, you can't reverse them. So, she came to see me. I told her all the things and it was just too much for her. She goes, you know, Jim, I just had a hard time digesting this. So she's watching Dr. Oz, and she sees this Dr. Robin, I think Chutman, but she's a gastroenterologist up in the Northeast, and she wrote a book on Heal Your Gut, Reverse Your Autoimmune Disease. Wow. And so anyway, Ruth has free flights. You know, she's a former Delta.
Sure.
So she heads for the Northeast and sees Dr. Robin. And Robin calls me up and says, is this Jim Hrncir? I said, yes. And she said, I'm Dr. So. I said, hey, congratulations on your book. And she says, where did you learn all this stuff? Because everything I'm trying to tell this patient, you've already told her.
Wow.
And anyway, we are on the same page. And when you're in integrative medicine and really deeply immersed in it, you know that the gut is huge. It's huge. When we heal the gut, all of a sudden, everything else just kind of falls into place in a lot of cases.
So let me ask you this, because I've had this. I do have leaky gut as of yesterday. It's positive. And Jim, I eat well. I do. I take supplements. You know, Dr. Leanne Scott, our friend. I don't understand what happened. I just really don't. I don't eat processed food, blah, blah, blah. Something went wrong. So when you say you're healing your gut, what is the process? I mean, I can't get anyone to tell me.
Easy for me, most of the time it's easy because most people are eating the standard American diet, the SAD diet, which is just horrible. And by the way, Dr. Scott is amazing.
Oh.
You know, she is another one of my favorite human beings on earth. You know,
love her.
I love her. Like she is one of those girls that I'm blessed to have her in my life.
That's our connection.
So bottom line is that number one, you got to straighten out the eating style. And it's not diet, it's an eating style. You just got to adopt an eating style that's low inflammatory. And guess what the number one offender is? Grains. Mark Hyman, you know, very famous Cleveland Clinic MD, you know, he did a study on patients eating grains. And they said, oh, I'm not gluten sensitive. Guess what? 100% of the patients they tested got inflammation markers from eating grains, even if they were not gluten allergic, okay? They got inflammation markers, which means that if you're inflaming your gut every day, how can you be healthy?
Right.
You can't.
No.
And if you knew what I knew about the gut and about the way it cascades up into the immune system, you would know that the gut has to be healthy. And so grains are an easy elimination, you know, and it's hard for some people because they love grains. I mean, I'm not stupid. I love grains. I mean, I don't have it tattooed on my forehead. Jim is an idiot. I like them, but they're not good for me. And I know that.
Yeah.
And so anyway, if you're trying to reverse an autoimmune disease, the first thing you got to do is get rid of grains. And one of the things I do is, and we also think about maybe nightshade vegetables as being inflammatory to the gut, lectin containing foods being inflammatory to the gut, you know, so you start kind of narrowing down, you know, and kind of get the gut healthier. And then you can try to add stuff back in and see where you go. But grains are always going to be a loser.
Right.
Now, there is a test, and I did a test on Jan. Here we go with Jan again.
Yes.
And I did it on another really close friend of mine, and they were both allergic to chicken. I mean, who is allergic to chicken? It's from another planet. She is from another planet, okay? But she's allergic to chicken, and this really close friend of mine, and she's gorgeous. She's a beautiful designer over in Dallas, allergic to chicken. But guess what? They're both allergic to egg white and egg yolk, which are two different proteins, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to do a test, and they're really the only, and I'm going to say this out loud, the only test I've seen that is legitimate for food allergy testing, hidden food allergy testing, is Cyrex Labs, and it is $1,000. Okay, it's not $300, it's not $200, it's $1,000. But you know what? Best money we ever spent, because we were able to identify that Jan needs to avoid these foods, and this other friend of mine, the designer, she needs to eliminate these foods. And she said, you know what? I noticed my stomach got hard, my intestinal tract got hard every time I ate chicken or eggs, and I love eggs. It's not that you don't like them. So this is just an example. I'm trying to give examples of things that you would think, oh no, because eggs are the superfood, but if you're allergic to them, they're a deal breaker.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so, and about 20% of the patients I test are allergic to eggs. Right. So anyway, I'm just thinking that getting up reproducible tests like Cyrex Labs is a key here.
Okay, spell that. Cyrex.
Cyrex.
Labs.
Cyrex Labs.
Okay, and you said this, but I just want to make sure, because I've taken the Alcat so many times.
And it changes every time you take
it. It changes.
And that is my gripe. And you take Cyrex and you take it again, you get the same results.
You do?
It's reproducible. That is the key. Reproducible results.
I've never. I'm taking the Cyrex.
Well, most doctors kind of avoid it because it's $1,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a tough sell.
I know, but still, at this point, priceless.
When I do it, I do about one a month, and I don't mark it up a dime. I'm not trying to make money on testing. I'm trying to help patients.
Yeah.
And so we just sell it to them when we get it for them.
Okay. Cyrex Labs. I'm going to ask Dr. Scott to run that on me.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask you about this, and I'm throwing you a curveball, but I know that you can take it because you played baseball.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
I wasn't great. My glory days weren't all that glorious.
Your dad was great. Now.
My dad was unbelievable.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Peptide BPC 157.
Love it. Wish I could make it. FDA has banned us compounders from compounding with it. Anybody who's compounding with it is breaking the law.
What?
Yeah. Oh, well, go write a letter to FDA people out there, please, because FDA is just unbridled right now. And they're probably going to come, come with guns next week. Yeah, because I said that.
I know.
Because, and FDA does a lot of good things.
Sure.
Yes. There's nobody's total evil.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to compounding, they have an anti-compounding culture, which the ex-head of the FDA spoke at a conference, and he said we at the FDA have an anti-compounding culture. Mm-hmm. And so we compounded BPC 157, and it was amazing. I was having incredible results with it. And then they banned it.
I don't understand.
And traditional medicine wins.
Oh, never mind. I just understood. I just got it.
Traditional medicine wins. They don't want us having tools like that in our tool chest.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't have them, they don't want us to have them.
So are all peptides banned at this point? Or
topical, like the face cream I make for you?
Yes.
Has 4 or 5 different peptides that make collagen and elastin,
mm-hmm.
Produce and hyaluronic acid. And those are legal in beauty products.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're trying to use them for to create a therapeutic effect,
mm-hmm. Oh my gosh.
Now semaglutide, for weight loss,
yes.
Semaglutide is a peptide, but it's approved by the FDA for a drug company. Therefore, we're allowed to compound it as long as it's on the FDA drug shortage list. If it goes off the shortage list, we can't compound it.
Oh my!
But it is a peptide that we can compound.
Okay.
But these things that help with growth hormone to help your body to release more growth hormone, like ipamorelin, banned.
Mm-hmm.
BPC 157, which I love, great anti-inflammatory, banned.
Wow. I know. Okay.
So, but back to the gut. Other things that we can do is probiotics. Everybody knows about probiotics, right?
Yes.
Did you know we have 5 pounds of friendly bacteria in our intestinal tract? 5 pounds. We don't have a few bacteria down there. We have 5 pounds. That we have so many cells down there. It exceeds the number of cells down there we have in the rest of our body because they're small little, bacterial cells.
Mm-mm.
And anyway, probiotics help us to create a healthy microbiome, which means flora in the intestinal tract. When you have a healthy microflora and microbiome in the intestinal tract, then your immune system has a great chance of recovery. Okay. And, the intestinal tract can heal itself in just a few weeks if we allow it, if we remove obstacles to health. And probiotics are one of those things. I use a couple of probiotics that I just really believe in. Megaspore is a spore probiotic, which actually recolonizes in the intestinal tract. And then I use Bisbiome, which is one of the most studied medically probiotics. It's a huge dose. We haven't seen that it recolonizes, but it does do great things as it goes through the intestinal tract, allowing your natural flora to flourish. Okay. Other things, prebiotics. I bet you use soluble fiber, and soluble fiber is prebiotic. It just feeds those bacteria to let your good guys grow. Now, you can do testing, and there is a testing by the people who make Megaspore, and it is a gut health test, and it's a stool test. So attractive.
Awful.
But
I'm a master.
It tells us information that we've never had available before. There was an old gut test made by another company, and I always got the same results from it, no matter who I tested. But this, I'm getting really, truly usable results to help people heal their gut. So I'm a very big fan of this. Matter of fact, I've got one home for Jan, and and we're fixing to do it next week.
Okay.
Fixing to, isn't that? That's so West Texas. I'm so sorry if I offended anybody.
Now your West Texas meets Central Texas, so here we go. Well, I tell you, this is a big one because a lot of people ask me about this constantly, and I make no bones about it. I come on the show, and I just want to help people because I need people like you to help me. But I mean, this is amazing, but the gut is it. The gut, everyone. Sounds like that's what we need to do. So I'm going to start working on it.
Are you going to do any IV nutrition?
I am.
I'm really hoping you will, and you can talk to me about it because I've had a lot of experience in that, and we teach clinics how to do it.
Okay.
I have a lot of experience in it. I've had hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands, of IVs, nutritional IVs, and because a nutritional agent, like say a B complex, just for instance, in an IV works 60 times better than if you take it orally. 60 times better. Just think intracellularly what difference that makes in every biologic process in your body. Now, we also put in things like glutathione. Glutathione is an incredible master detoxer, and phase 2 detoxification. And so I'm a big fan of glutathione, and we show doctors how to work up to the proper dose of glutathione for each patient. Like my wife takes 600 milligrams. I take 2 grams, which is a giant dose, but I tolerate that. I had to work up to 2 grams.
I with this now breast implant illness, the doctor put it underneath my tongue and I threw up immediately.
I have got a type of glutathione, and it's called S-acetyl glutathione, and you can swallow it orally and it works. It's a little trick we have in the drug business is where you can take a molecule like glutathione, which is not stable in the stomach, it just immediately destroyed, but we can hook it to another agent called S-acetyl, and it actually allows the body to absorb it and utilize it, and it cuts off that S-acetyl group, and then you have glutathione, and it shows up in tissues all over the body, and I can get the same effect from this oral S-acetyl glutathione that I can from IV, and I know it's working.
Well, the IV, I really don't understand for the life of me how I'm even functioning because nothing stays in me. I eat and it's gone, and it's miserable. But we're gonna fix it. We're gonna heal my gut for sure and get my girls out. For sure. Well, thank you so much. You're my favorite pharmacist by far.
You're my favorite podcaster. I've done probably 30 or 40 of these, and number one right here. You're my number one.
You heard it right here on My So-Called Fabulous, everyone. Thank you so much for sharing so much information
and letting us talk to folks and tell them another way to think.
Absolutely. We have to step out of the box, the traditional back. I know.
Give some hope.
I will. Everyone, thank you so much for listening today. And I know this is touching some of you because you told me for sure. So everyone, stay tuned because we're talking about this more. And everyone, keep being fabulous.